Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is directed by Sam Raimi and stars Benedict Cumberbatch, Elizabeth Olsen, and Xochitl Gomez. Running into a young girl who has the ability to travel the multiverse, Stephen Strange must do everything in his power to make sure her abilities don't fall into the hands of a new and powerful enemy. Now, most of you, especially if you know me, would think that The Batman would be my most anticipated movie of 2022. Well, you're all wrong. This was my most anticipated movie of the year. Why? Because I love Doctor Strange. Honestly, he is my favorite new Avenger nowadays, and his first movie, I'm pretty sure it came out in 2017, 2016, around that time, I honestly think is one of the most underrated, no, scratch that, is the most underrated MCU release, and in my opinion, is one of the best MCU movies. I just think the world of Doctor Strange is so creative and cool. I think he is so creative and cool. And I thought that this movie, and I was hoping that this movie was going to be so creative and cool. And did it live up to all of my anticipation? While I don't think it's as good as the first film, it's still so freaking good. This movie has like a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes, just like the first film, and I cannot disagree with Rotten Tomatoes more on both of these ratings. I loved Multiverse of Madness. I think the most obvious reason why I love Multiverse of Madness so much is the same reason why I love most Marvel movies, the characters. I think the characters in this movie are so entertaining, so lovable, and so empathetic. No character in this movie is without sin, the same way that no character is wholly good. They're all three-dimensional, all relatable in some way, shape, or form, and they all feel very human. Strange has to come to terms with his main philosophy of, it's the only way. Wanda has to come to terms with losing everything that she had in WandaVision. Even Gomez's character isn't completely innocent and has a dark past to her. I already loved most of these characters, and putting them in this emotionally and philosophically tense situation, I can't help but find that wholly intriguing and endearing. So I love the characters, and I love all of the actors portraying them, but honestly, the only thing that outshines both of them is Sam Raimi's direction. This is awesome. The horror visuals and the unique cinematography and just the horrific images that are in this film really do separate it from a lot of the other MCU films. It makes the experience feel unique, different, and at times actually kind of terrifying. If you do have children that are 13 and younger and they do want to see this movie, just be careful because there are some horrific images and some brutal deaths in this film that really do stick with you and are kind of nightmarish. I loved them. Everyone in the theater loved them. Just be careful if you're a parent and you're bringing your young child to it. And you know me, I'm a sucker for a good multiverse story, a good what-if story, and the amount of multiverse travel that's in this film, while not reaching the heights of Into the Spider-Verse per se, is really freaking creative. I love seeing the new worlds that Sam Raimi and MCU in general could come up with. I love seeing the different characters that are similar to our own, but different in multiple different ways. And there is one sequence in particular at the start of this multiverse travel that is, wow. They go through so many universes in this one sequence, and I was just watching it amazed, like, wow, this is incredible. The music is also awesome. I will admit, as much as I do love Danny Elfman's scores throughout his career, I was sort of afraid because the Doctor Strange theme, in my opinion, originally conducted by Michael Giacchino, it's become one of my favorite Marvel themes of all time. And with a new composer, I was afraid that they were going to change it. And I was honestly really thankful by the fact that they did not change the Doctor Strange theme, and in fact added to the score with a whole bunch of other character themes that are really iconic, and a new score that is so electric guitar heavy that it might feel out of place to some, but for me, it just felt awesome. I'm a sucker for a good electric guitar. The action is creative too, the spell casting is awesome, and the effects, I will admit, are hit or miss. For the most part, they are pretty good, but there are times where it does look like a really obvious green screen. In my opinion, it happens both times simultaneously to the extent where they do cancel each other out, to the point where my reaction to the effects are just but it is worth taking into account. And while on the subject of the lore in this movie does get a bit jumbled. The lore and world building in the first Doctor Strange was one of my favorite parts of that film. Here, it kind of feels all over the place. There's lore that does work to the same just go with it extent that the first film was able to get away with, but there's also events referenced by characters that have never been seen or even heard of before. In fact, there are some plot points where the characters will reference events that are common knowledge to them, is portrayed like it's common knowledge to us, but has never been explored in movies or shows. Remember how with the 2016 Suicide Squad, every single time something confusing was portrayed, Warner Brothers' excuse was that it was for the fans and they'll get it? And it was just really lazy. There are times in this movie where the lore feels like that. And that's my biggest problem. Sometimes there are pieces missing from this puzzle, but it's acted like, oh no, it's the complete picture. But if I'm being honest, that's probably my biggest issue and the only one that I will allow myself to accept because I freaking loved this movie. The characters are all identifiable, the direction is creative, the horror aspects are refreshing, the action is creative, and the score is awesome. The world building can be a bit all over the place at times, and the effects can be hit or miss, but the rest of the movie is so good, I can forgive some of that. I know most people are just saying, it's good to this movie, but I'm sorry. There's something about the character of Doctor Strange in the MCU where anything he's in, I'm just like, yeah, it's awesome. And this movie, yeah, I think it's awesome. I'm going to give Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness an A. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments down below, which movie do you think will be the best multiverse film of 2022? Everything Everywhere All at Once, or Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? Honestly, I don't know. I love both films so much. Everything Everywhere All at Once really surprised me, but Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was almost everything that I wanted this film to be, so I just don't know. I have to rewatch both films so many times to really get a full grasp of which one I like more. It's tough when so many movies are so good. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the best. And don't forget to click subscribe and click the bell icon down below to stay up to date on all things movie, all things TV, all things nerd.